Magneto, master of magnet. To die.
Check it out, snap. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Welcome to Die Gaming. And tonight, we have Jared from Avalanche.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Hey, Jared.
How you doing, man?
Doing really good right now, actually.
We are, our hair is out of control. Somebody give us a haircut, please.
Yeah, we can't go out and get a haircut right now because we're on lockdown. And
Well, thank God Resident Evil 3 came out then, right?
Stars.
Precisely.
Yeah. So, we are here to discuss that remake and what we thought. Seems like the general consensus on the internet's been kind of mixed. A lot of people think the game was short. But me and Rob both have our opinions on it in terms of we understand its design. I don't think a lot of people do. And Jared, we haven't heard your no spoilers on your video. We haven't watched it yet, so I still don't know exactly what your opinions are. Besides, I believe you're favorable on the game itself.
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
Yeah, for us, just I want to take a knock right quick at the fact, everybody's saying this is short. A lot of people have to understand what the first version was. It was much shorter, and it followed. It does technically, on paper, follow in the spiritual, like the Sister Success. I can't think of the word for it. It follows in that same type of pathway, but it was almost like a different ideology how it was cut across, plus having the balance modernizing. I really think they did the best they could with the layout and just the design and implementation of the game. But I think they thought it would transfer better to fans. But, when I reviewed the game for us, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, which is, 90. I think it's great because I'm part of it too. The length is what it is, but it's also, to me, I feel like it's a more cohesive playthrough, and you can do it multiple times. It's meant for speedrunners, and you unlock higher difficulties when you beat the game continually. I think a lot of today's gamers, when they see a game like this and it isn't like Battlefield or Call of Duty, they're just going to play through it once, and they get mad that it's only 6 hours, and really, the replayability of the game itself.
Well, see, that's actually an interesting point because, I remember playing through Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and 2, and they were around about 5-hour game single-player playthroughs. You know what I mean? So, and on top of that, I think a lot of people who are complaining about the length of the game haven't played Resident Evil 3 in a while. I think a lot of people are operating on, I want to say like a nostalgia-tinged idea of what Resident Evil 3 was. And I recently did a video covering all of RE3's ports. So I beat the game. It was fun as hell to do, but I beat it 6 or 7 times in a row. And I can tell you, a first playthrough of RE3 Nemesis, if you haven't played it in like a few years, that's a 4 or 5 hour playthrough, and it's the same exact thing as RE3 Remake. There's no difference in playtime between a first playthrough of the remake versus the OG one.
Yeah, to me, it's a lot in line with what the original was, but also when the original came out, it's more action-oriented too, but it didn't have the same critical success that 2 had. 2 was just a whole other scope of the game. And I put my review when I did it that they're both great, and I think on par in terms of quality and everything, but they're their own separate entities. Like, it's natural to compare it, but in essence, what's there, it's survival horror, you're shooting zombies, and you have to manage inventory, but really they're kind of 2 separate games.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like the original RE2 and RE3, where they were in the same general genre of survival horror, but they had 2 different approaches to it. 3 was a very action-based, movement-based type of deal, where 2 was like stick your heels in the sand, aim, and fire until it, whatever's coming towards you is dead. 3, they gave you the environmental option of blowing up barrels and stuff, and they gave you the dodge option, and they made it a little more based around moving around, dodging things, versus RE2's just stand there and shoot type of deal. So it makes sense. I think when they went into remaking 3, the idea was to make it as much of a remaster / remake that RE2 was. So they brought a lot of that original intent back into the game. And like I said before, I think a lot of people just haven't played the original in a while. And what they remember are these idealized kind of, they have the rose-tinted glasses on. They remember this amazing experience from when they were 13, 14 years old. And then they play the remake and they're like, well, this is different than I remember. Of course it is. It was different from RE2 as well. And when I played RE3 coming out of RE2, it was jarring because it was such an action, focus. And that's what this is. It's the same, like you said, like a spiritual follow-up to what the game was, the same way RE2 was, but they were working with two very different games when they did that. So the approach is the same. The results are just different.
Rob has grown to absolutely love the remake.
Yes.
So much that he's on two difficulty levels that, a lot of people, I don't think even... Go ahead. You got your opinion on it.
No, I mean, I played hardcore first playthrough, just like with 2. In fact, I've never played anything below hardcore on Resident Evil 2, but with Resident Evil 3, I don't think hardcore was as difficult as 2 is. But you unlock Nightmare. And Nightmare is a bigger jump in difficulty than you would with assisted to hardcore. That's how big of a jump it is. In fact, I couldn't beat the waste disposal Nemesis without the rocket launcher. I got so fed up with just using up 54 shells of Magnum and grenade and using up all my health and just getting right to where you're about to beat him, and you have to fend off 4 pale heads.
Yeah, they have pale heads when you go up that high.
The naked zombies in Resident Evil 3 remake or reimagine, if you want to call it that, because it's not necessarily a remake of the original, like they've already mentioned. But you get to a point where you're facing 4 pale heads while trying to take down Nemesis, and it's like, you know what, fuck this. So I took the infinite launcher and I whacked him down. I just put him down. And then right after that, you go to the final boss, which, if you know anything about Aliens, the movie Aliens, the final nemesis resembles the alien queen, particularly in the face. And I spent maybe 2 straight hours of dying over and over again with the rocket launcher. So I went back to hardcore to play the boss again, just to see the difference between the two. And I beat the boss on hardcore immediately just with the pistol. It was nothing to it. Then I went back and spent another hour trying to beat Nemesis, and I was finally done with it. And once I beat Nightmare, it unlocked Inferno.
I just wonder how many people actually know that not only is Nightmare a difficulty that you can unlock, but Inferno.
Yeah, I found that out literally last night, so I'm sure there are people who didn't know that.
I'm playing Inferno right now with just one unlockable. I'm using the STARS Field Combat Manual, and that's it. That's the only thing I have. I don't have the crafting companion, which is helpful with doubling your ammunition output with the gunpowder. And Inferno is outrageously hard because you don't have the autosaves anymore, so you have to go through entire sections. Like right now when you finish off the city, you have to get through Nemesis with the rocket launcher, and then you have to go through the rolling Charlie head, which you have to be on full health to even outrun. If you're on caution, you automatically get steamrolled over by it.
Really?
Yeah. Oh god. And then after you get through the Charlie head, if you can get through it, because I at first I didn't think it was even possible. I mean, I know that the game is not impossible. I know that they're not going to set up a situation where you cannot get through it. But with the Charlie head, I was like, how am I supposed to do this? Because the first 3 or 4 times I'm getting steamrolled. I'm barely even moving before it kills me. And then once you get killed by the Charlie head, you automatically have to go back to dealing with the alleyway with the rocket launcher Nemesis. And it's you have to get through that, and then you have to get through the Charlie head, and then you have to outrun Nemesis one more time. So I mean, the game is more on Inferno. It's much more like a survival horror, because you get killed by Nemesis with one hit when he first appears. The first couple of times you're running away from him to get the subway up and running, he just goes, boom, you're dead. And it's so fucking hard, man. But yeah.
There's one thing that I think maybe Jared can possibly agree with this too. Obviously there's maybe like a handful of puzzles in the game. But I made this in my review too, is it's all been replaced with strategy. I mean, I had to do a strategy guide for taking down Nemesis before, launch. And then, after a couple weeks gone by, you start seeing the videos on how stuff can be done. There's like there's different strategies to approach everything in the game. I really like that aspect. The strategy in the original with Nemesis at least was like, hey, do you run or do you fight him? Here it's in spirit again, to run from him, or you can fight him at least early on. Yeah, the later battles are scripted, but each individual encounter has a different strategy. And I think there's multiple ways that it can play out into get success.
For sure, yeah. I think in the defense of people who don't like it, I can understand the argument if they're coming at it from I want to have my first experience with this, like a one playthrough that has all the content I want. Where you guys are totally right. There's a lot of content to be farmed from this game. I myself have I think I'm on my 5th playthrough right now, and I'm really trying to go for sub 2 hour. But I can understand the arguments. Like, no, I want my first playthrough to have a lot of content to it, and if I choose to get extra content, that's fine. And my argument to that is, like I said before, it is as long, if not. I actually beat it for the first time in about 5 hours, which is an hour longer than my first playthrough of RE3. So that's a good thing. But my other argument is, like you said, the difficulties there's a lot to do in this game besides your typical survival horror stuff. There is an absence of puzzles, and that sucks for me personally. But what I try to do is think about it from Capcom's point of view. And if you have a board of directors and investors that you have to answer to, I don't feel like we're going to put a lot of puzzles in this game is going to go over well. And that's not defending them. It's shitty. I want those things in there. But if you guys want that in there and I want that in there, we are in the minority for sure.
Well, yeah, we want the puzzles and we also want the fixed camera angles. I mean,
now that's the real minority, because you can argue three had less puzzles than had puzzles, but it had less puzzles than
for sure.
Two. The original.
Well, the thing about the original Resident Evil 3 is that you were so caught up with Nemesis. I mean,
that was a distracting point from that, I think one thing for me across is there was, they did cut some stuff. Let's turn off a little bit early, just in the first playthrough, because it kind of seemed that they summed up a lot of the early part of the original game just through the first, intro. Running into the dude at the warehouse, he gets into the canister.
Yeah, they really fucked that up. I have to say, the thing I love about the original game is that you start out at the warehouse with Daria. His name's Daria, and it's also daytime. What I love about that is, like, when you're in the city, you start out in daytime, and Daria has locked himself away, and then you I can't exactly remember at what point it transitions in the city into night, but you go back to that and he's dead. And what happens is the little storage locker that he's put himself in is opened up, and of course he's dead. And there's also a little diary, but you also have like a couple of things of yellow gunpowder and red gunpowder. So I mean, it you have to go back in order to get that, and that's something that the new one. The new one doesn't have that day-night transition with the city. The city also seems smaller on the newer one, but at the same time, it's probably just as big, if not bigger. It just seems smaller, I guess, maybe because the fixed camera angles make it feel bigger. You don't have the gas station.
Oh, no loading screens.
True. Okay.
So
I'll give you that.
Oh yeah, that is true.
But see the thing about like the new one is I had complaints about. I even told him, I was like, it's like this game was made for people that have never played the original. That's
Yeah.
I mean,
It seems like it too. Speaking of the original, it's like, well, in regards to what you're saying, if it was never people never played the original, that was almost, the original 3 were an acquired taste. Whereas Resident Evil 4 is like, hey, it might be difficult, but you're going to just go out and shoot stuff and keep progressing in a linear. Let's try that again.
linear.
You're going to progress in a linear fashion. There we go. And, the original 3, they changed the concept after 3 because people either didn't like how the game played, or they either loved it, but they figured they could keep those same people, change things up, and add more. And really, that's kind of the balance they're still going with this one, but you still risk the chance that, you're going to turn away fans. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The remake of 2 was obviously phenomenal. It's my game of the year. Everybody's basically game of the year. But in action, 3, it's kind of more of the same. And if that was your first introduction to Resident Evil as a whole, I could easily see what turn away those people. But that's the way modernizing games does now. It's to make it so it's accessible to all people. That's why the indie titles and indie horror titles are better. They might not have the production, but they cater to specific people, and they don't necessarily care about the sales.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I have two. I have 2 points there. So first off, you were heading towards the Dario thing, and in my video, I make it very clear that the people who are complaining that there is cut content, they're 100%. It's not like they're wrong when they say that. There's for sure cut content, and I can see why someone would find that pretty, distasteful, because you could give them the benefit of the doubt and say they did it to improve the overall pacing of the game, which if that was the case, then that would be a good move, I think. But realistically, it was probably more of a time crunch issue, and they probably did it to get the game out the door in a certain time frame, which that sucks, and that's pretty scummy to do. I can agree with that.
There's a bigger problem to that, though. But we'll come back to that in a second. I just want to bring that up.
Oh, okay. So that is shitty. That's true. And would the game have been better with more content? I think so, yes. Is the game bad because that content is not there? I don't think so.
Okay. That right there is that's what I was gonna say. Is that at first I told him, I was like, the game seems to be made for people that never played the original game, but at the same time, like once I got through it, I was like, the things that were left out, like the park, the clock tower, the gas station. I mean, you do have the gas station somewhat in the new one, and it's the things that were cut out don't really seem necessary for the new game. I mean, it doesn't take away, like in the new game you have the warehouse underneath the hospital, which is awesome. I love the warehouse. You do have the nest too instead of the dead factory.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish we had the Dead Factory instead of Nest 2, but Nest 2 was okay. I mean, it's kind of like they had the Nest in Resident Evil 2, and it's just maybe they just recycled the idea.
Well, that's the whole idea of them doing this remake of 3 to save time. Is the assets are already there.
Right. There's honestly, there's nothing wrong with that because the game is fucking great. I love the new Resident Evil 3. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not a complete apologist for the series either. I don't apologize for 5 and 6, especially not 6. I beat 4 a shitload of times, so I can't pretend that I don't love 4, that I didn't love 4, especially when I was 21 years old. But Resident Evil 3, the new one, it's an action horror game. I mean, it's tough enough on Inferno and Nightmare to be considered survival horror, but it's definitely more action horror. But not to the level of Resident Evil 4, I will say that.
Yeah.
So one thing to bring back to what I said a second ago, we were talking about the time crunch. This is a little bit of a red flag for Capcom to slow their roll, but clearly they're not.
Yeah.
With the insane ideas that they're saying for Resident Evil 8, but as of today, Easter Sunday, a lot of leaks have come out that they are going to remake Resident Evil 4 with the same outsourced quote-unquote team that did Resident Evil 3. You know, when I looked up, when I did the reviews, I had to put in the developer and the team, the company that produces the game. Capcom knowingly outsources. Maybe it was more or less outsourced the multiplayer portion that we won't even talk about. But there was a separate team working on this that wasn't necessarily in-house, but that same team is rumored to be working on 4. And I don't really know how much they're going to chop that down, but the thing is, the day after it launched, Capcom was sending out surveys in Asia. People want another remake. And a lot of people are like, we've had 2 in 1 year. This isn't Call of Duty. We don't need Resident Evil 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, or
it
at
sounds
least
like Capcom's starting to turn that foot again to start milking shit, and part of that it all started here. I think if Resident Evil 2 didn't get the success it did, they may have still done this, but they certainly wouldn't be pushing what they're doing now because there was no reason to release this multiplayer portion. They could have just developed Mercenaries as a separate thing or have that other team do it, but they had to incorporate microtransactions somehow. And that game is, I don't know if you've touched Resistance, but it's virtually unplayable, it's buggy, it's boring, it's terrible.
Wow. Damn, no, I haven't even touched it.
Yeah, don't take up your hard drive space. I mean, it's free, but it's just absolutely, it runs. How does a game, I don't know what you played it on, if it's PS4, or Xbox or PC. But how does the main game run at 60 frames a second? And then something in the same engine that's multiplayer run at a lower resolution and a lower frame rate? It is abysmal.
I want to get back to something I said earlier, and I totally didn't follow up on it. I said that Nemesis, the final boss on the new Resident Evil 3, he resembles the alien queen from Aliens. Now, the connection with aliens in Resident Evil 3 is, like, as far as the Easter eggs, you have Sigourney coffee shop at the very beginning. Jill is constantly calling Nemesis this fucker. This fucker is a line from Alien when Ripley says, we're going to blow this fucker into space, which is reiterated in Covenant, a movie that no one likes.
I love Covenant.
I liked it, yeah.
I do love that movie, but also I do agree with people that maybe it is a piece of shit, but at the same time I like it.
Yeah.
It's just think of it as a bad horror movie that you like, just like so many horror movies. People are all about loving really, really awful movies.
I think I need to stop saying I think.
No, just say it. Just say I think.
Resident Evil 3 should have been named Resident Evil 3 Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Do you not agree?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually like that. It's finally Capcom starting to embrace their history a little more than they used to. Actually be pretty big about including Easter eggs to other Capcom games. This was around pre-PS1 era. There'd be a lot of like stuff in the background or characters that tie back into other Capcom games, and it's kind of good to see them coming back into more like lighthearted, like we exist and there's other properties and they're in universe or something,
But there's other like you said with alien stuff. I didn't really. I saw you really can't miss the Sigourney sound, but when you mentioned those other two things, like that's straight up alien. But I was going through some videos online, and there's Easter eggs that people don't even realize. Just like really obscure Japanese 80s, 90s Capcom stuff.
I have one particular one Easter egg that would probably go over most people's head. There's a little neon sign in the city with that says Lone Wolf cigarettes, Now, what's the Easter egg with Lone Wolf? Lone Wolf is a mode on Resident Evil 6 where you set it up to where you're not healed by your partner. Whenever you're on red and you're about to die, you basically are just rolling around until you recover. You don't have your partner come over and help you. That's Lone Wolf. That's just one little one.
This literally just occurred to me. In order for them to make that city so like eccentric with all the signs and posters to make it look like a city, they most likely just had a committee sit down and just like, we just need to come up with a list of stuff to put on signs.
Oh fuck, dude. Yeah. Okay, seriously, one of the best Easter eggs is at the Toy Uncle toy store, the Super Circle 50, right? Did you notice the Super Circle 50?
No, I didn't even look at it.
I haven't seen it.
The Super Circle 50 is in the window,
man. You go room to room in every Resident Evil and just look at the details.
Well, yeah, that's why it takes me so long to beat the game, because I'm spending so much time looking at everything.
So, I think, I really love just touch on all that, but it doesn't, it's not like they went in, it's like, hey, let's come up with a list of shit. It's like, all right, we need to make a city come alive, and instead of putting, the game is clever.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
The game as a whole, the whole top-down thing, it's just fucking clever. It's like one of those movies that you have to watch multiple times to get stuff because it's fucking clever. And to me, that's also just a sign of brilliance. It's fucking smart. Like it's.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah, I totally agree. There's a lot of stuff that's going to maybe go over your head or you won't notice because a lot of times I was so hell-bent on playing the game and experiencing it for the first time. Like when Nemesis first showed up, I didn't even think about the fact that there was a generator there to shoot. And when he jumped over my head, I was just like, oh, holy shit, what am I going to do? He jumped over my head. I'm dealing with that. I'm not looking in the environment to see what I can stall him with. I was just like, oh, I got to run in the opposite direction, you know?
That's hard hitting those things. I mean, you can run past and do 180 turn. If you're too close, you get.
Yeah, I was gonna say try shooting it when you're right in front of it. It'll shock you, which kind of defeats the purpose. But when you shoot the generator, it does slow Nemesis down a little bit. But when you play it on Inferno, that little area when he first appears, you have no chance of even shooting the electricity. You just have to keep running because and Nemesis kills you. Yeah, I think I might have already said this in the video, but he kills you in one hit. He just goes pop and you're dead. Yeah. So you really don't have any time to do anything but run at that point.
So Jared, how long did it take you to realize before Carlos had a Chris Redfield punch or Jill had her punch?
I don't want to believe that Jill has it because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's news. I was today years old when I found out about Jill.
Exactly. I'm on my third playthrough. Jill has not punched or kicked or done anything that's like over actiony.
So I witnessed it in the video. You can actually take Nemesis down with punches.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that.
That's insane.
That's bullshit for one.
I'm pretty sure you press in R3 when you nail the perfect dodge, the time slows down. If you press in R3. Because I thought Carlos just had a dodge too. No, that was a shoulder tackle.
He does a punch.
Or he does that.
Dude, he's a fucking soldier. I mean, a soldier punch is not a big deal. In fact,
because that's the only way I got through the hospital section at the end was being able to do that over and over and shoot and transform.
No, check it out. If you wanna argue about Carlos using a punch, go back to Dawn of the Dead from 1978. The main character fucking punches zombies. There's nothing wrong with you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong like a special forces character using punches against zombies.
Speaking of Easter eggs to actually coincide with us and Jared's 2 broadcasts. And on top of that, Jared, I think you also saw this on Twitter because I liked it too. The Day of the Dead reference of Brad.
Oh, you're talking about when Brad is supposed to be like Bub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually had somebody. I was doing a live stream. Someone pointed that out. That's totally true. And the face almost kind of mirrors the Bub look. You know?
The face does look like Bub.
And we talked about that in the last video too. How 3 felt like it was Day in terms of its design.
Well,
it's just kind of nice.
We talked about the Welcome to Die Gaming's first video. We brought that up. I did a really fucked up job of trying to connect the two, Day of the Dead and Resident Evil 3. Like, yeah, they're both the dark horse of the original trilogies that they each belong to. But also the main villain in Resident Evil 3 is a military character, just like Day of the Dead. The main villain is the fucking military.
Yeah.
So there's that connection. I'm looking over at the fucking speaker like I did in that first video with Jared. Some questions. Jared, what did you think about the hunters, like the Gamma and the Betas and the new Resident Evil 3?
I like their inclusion. The Gammas were the white ones in the sewer, right?
Yes, and they're fucking huge.
They're huge, and so the first time that I saw one was actually really cool and organic, because when you're heading down that sewer lane and you could either take a right or go straight to a save room.
Yeah.
I took a right instead because I was like, yeah. So when I first saw one, it didn't have that cool reveal of coming out of a pipe. It just literally walked around a corner. And I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting zombies, and you see the giant screen, like obscuring thing walk out, and I was like, "Holy Jesus!" I legitimately kind of jumped a little bit, which was really cool. And I like the way that you have to take them down because they're so slow and they are such a non-threat at long distances. I kind of like that they have a one-hit kill. It balances them a little bit, which is cool. And I think I got killed by one of them once or twice from thinking I could. I just missing a perfect dodge when I got too greedy, but I like them a lot. And then the Hunter Betas, I think it's a really cool design. They're gross as shit looking, which I like, but I think the little scream they do sounds real weak. They should have given them something a little more powerful, maybe.
That's what he was talking about. Yeah.
The original Hunters to me were like a gremlin on steroids from the movie Gremlins.
Yeah.
Except it was green. It's like a frog gremlin, and you knew when they were coming. They had the hail. Well, I guess let me take that back. Didn't necessarily know when they were coming because half the time, because of the fixed camera angles on the original games, they could actually launch down a hallway and kill you one hit if they wanted to, slice your throat. But when you killed them, you knew they were dead because they screamed like a banshee. This one, you're not sure. Until they're like, because the animation of them taking hits and them dying is like the same.
Yeah.
And if you're watching ammo, you kind of gotta blur that line and not overdo it, because you can waste a lot of ammo.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right.
One thing I did like is, and I went in, if you played 3, obviously the hunters were eventually coming, especially at the hospital. I was hoping they would do that intro video like they did on the very original Resident Evil, if you remember that. When you go back into the mansion after leaving the garden for the first time, that cutscene comes up where you just see this thing running up through the garden, and it comes in the back door, and all of a sudden it's there. And it did that on the remake, where it came down, it went to that red screen, that video, came down the hallway, and I thought that was brilliant. I was hoping they were going to do something like that, and they did.
Yeah,
this is a nice little homage. I liked it.
The music that starts playing when the hunters appear in the hospital is very reminiscent of the music that starts playing when the hunters appear in the original Resident Evil. It has that really intense. I don't know what you call it, but it has that intense, like high pitched kind of like that. Well, I don't know what you call the fucking sound, but like it just has that. It's
that wail.
Something like that. I wish I could explain myself a lot better, but
they were a real dick to throw a hunter or 2 in there when you did that hospital fight when the game went full on Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6.
Oh yeah, at the very end.
Because it comes in behind you.
Yeah.
And luckily, I just happened to turn and see it, but that was the first time. That was sheer luck.
Grenades are your friends.
Grenades are your friends. But so are the Transformers and Carlos's Chris Redfield boulder punch.
The boulder, he doesn't have a boulder punch. You can't, dude. I'm telling you, you're making it out like the game has gone back to 4, 5, 6. It hasn't. You've seen a YouTube video of somebody using punches to put down Nemesis with Jill. You know what? That's a YouTube video That's fucking tabloid shit. You know, I don't believe it. I'm third playthrough, and there's no sign that Jill can do anything like that. And the idea that you can punch Nemesis down, maybe you can do that on system mode. Maybe you can do that on the most casual, easy mode where your health is restoring constantly. Fine, but no, if you play it on hardcore and up, no, I don't see that happening, and I haven't seen it happen.
I almost think that they try to overly cater to hardcore fans of the game, and also what the game gets utilized for most is speedruns. I think Jared brought up speedruns earlier, and for some reason, to the masses, it backfired. Like, people just don't understand that. But there's only select people that go through and do speedruns of Resident Evil games, or speedruns in general.
We used to.
There's a select few that are hardcore fans of it. See, everybody that does that will love the game. But, like I mentioned earlier, it's like if you do something for one playthrough and you do it on the easiest difficulty, yeah, Nemesis isn't going to be scary. I mean, Angry Joe shit all over the game. I watched his review yesterday. And I'm like, you make some good points, but...
Did he play Nightmare? Did he play Inferno? Is anybody even trying the harder difficulty?
He just said Nemesis was more annoying than anything. I'm just like, yeah, those other boss battles are scripted, but there's strategy to do each one. But yeah, once you figure out that strategy, it makes it easier.
You can make that fucking argument about the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis and say that Nemesis is annoying. I mean,
but it also
doesn't work that way.
It also will help lower your time to achieve those other scores to unlock more stuff. So
I will say this. I think that there's a difference between including stuff for speedrunners and making a game catered towards speedrunners. And I think Resident Evil 2 Remake did the same thing. There's a lot of speedrunning strats in that game that seem to be built into it from the ground up. So I like watching people speedrun these RE remakes because it makes it really fun to go through and optimize your playthrough for the next time. And both RE2 Remake and RE3 Remake are just insanely replayable, not just even on higher difficulties, but on the same difficulty and optimizing your run. And I'm not a speedrunner in any way, shape, or form. Anybody who's seen me stream knows that I finish these games in just stupid amateur amounts of time. But I enjoy the skill-based nature of it, where dodging, doing a perfect dodge at just the right time. Like, that feels good. And the more you play through it, the more you're going to nail that. And that's going to be more and more satisfying. So I don't think necessarily it was made for speedrunners, but I think the nature of these remakes and how they've kind of developed them into action games, that's maybe an unintended consequence. Like, there's a lot of RE4 speedrunners. I wouldn't necessarily say RE4 is a speedrunner-centric game. You know what I mean?
It is linear enough to where if you know, say, all right, if you're using the infinite launcher, for example, or the hand cannon, you know, you can get through the game, and I think the fastest you can, you know, I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about these ninjas that do everything as quickly as humanly possible, but you can beat like Resident Evil 4, which is a pretty long game, in only about 5 hours. Like, as long as it is, that's pretty quick. Like, when you think about it, but I see. I'm not a ninja. I don't understand the whole ninja concept of playing a Resident Evil game, like, where you can literally go through the entire thing with a knife. I just can't. I can't do that. I'm not on that level. You know, I'm good, but I'm never going to be that good.
I don't think very few people are going to be, and that's why it's fun to watch. It's a spectacle to see someone that skilled at it. You know. I mean, I played every Resident Evil game ever made, and I played them for years and years of my life, and I'll never get to that level.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. Like,
I couldn't enjoy it the same.
What, if you try to do it as quickly as possible?
That's not like the only thing I would ever like. What needs to me the best speedrunner games are platformer games. There's a reason for that. You want to get through as quick as possible. Mega Man, Sonic, Mario, speedruns. Yeah, something like this. I mean, yeah, technically based on, if you figure out like the ins and outs to get around stuff, you do it as fast as possible. It takes away from, you know, the developer's vision. And
Well, yeah, the whole.
And when you have a game based around atmosphere, I don't like seeing it kind of. It's like watching a horror movie and
rewinding.
or somebody just. It's like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna call the cops and get the military here to take out this retard. Roll credits, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie's over. Good job.
Okay, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. So it's neat. It can be neat to see, but it takes away from even Doom. Speed run Doom, okay, but like horror games, I just you want. It's gotta be tense. Like you want to feel like you're there and a part of something and on edge, and it's kind of like your parents ruining Santa Claus for you at age 8. It's like, oh, that guy did that. Well, that kind of takes. I could use this in the future, but shit, kind of wish I didn't know it.
You're over here talking about you can knock Nemesis down with punches and kicks.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, look, no.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I say that, but another part of me is that shouldn't be in the game, in my opinion. Leave the dodge. You can slow the time down with the perfect dodge, but you see people taking Nemesis down with, we slowed time down and did a quick time event. It's like, that's something I figured out. It kind of kills it because once I figured this out and do this all the time, then I'm good. How many times have you taken down Nemesis? Because my first, Jared, I'm asking you, my first run time through when I did my guide, I avoided him altogether.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing. I didn't like this game's Nemesis until my second playthrough, because in my first playthrough, I decided to play it like I would RE3, Nemesis on my like the OG version. I would literally just run away for every opportunity because I didn't want to waste any ammo, didn't want to waste any healing items, and that's what my focus was. And he's so powerful and so fast, and he closes the gap so quickly that I didn't like him at all. I thought it was unfair as hell because the entire time I was just running. And then, like I said, my second playthrough, I knew what to expect more, and I was less, I guess, nervous, and I knew the layout more, so I was more comfortable with not paying attention when he showed up exactly on screen. And I was like, oh, there's a generator right there. I shot that, had no issue with that part, none whatsoever. And then I found out a grenade will take him down, and I was like, holy hell! Like, the game was better my second time around, because the first time around was the horror, what you were talking about before, the horror experience. And I was legitimately just drinking in the atmosphere. I was loving the graphics and the immersive nature of the environments. And then the second time around, I wasn't paying attention to that stuff as much. I knew it was all there, so that's all in my mind. So now I'm looking for where can I dodge here? Is there an opening between this group of zombies here,
Yeah, the first time I played through it, I didn't like the city. I thought the city was weak, and I thought the city was nothing compared to the original. But then I played it the second time, and I'm like, I actually really love the city. I really like how it comes together, and you do a full circle. You come around on the rooftops, and you can see the big toy uncle head. And then the toy uncle head kills you like 15, 25, 30 times. I don't know how many times you died. You probably only died once or twice. I died probably like 10 times the first time.
I want to make sure something. When you run down the stairs, you do go to the right? You don't run. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I do.
But on Nightmare, I tried to attempt it without using any more health, and I was on caution, and I just kept getting run over and over again. So
it speeds up on higher.
Yeah, and on Inferno, it's ridiculous. You really, if you haven't moved over to the right and started moving within like a half a second, you're dead. It takes no time to kill you. And
just like real life.
Huh?
Just like real life.
But I my opinion of the new Resident Evil 3 was definitely it was not. I didn't have a low opinion of it, but I definitely felt like it failed to be the remake of Resident Evil 3, but then I actually played it a second time and I started really loving it, and now I have to say that I love Resident Evil 3 pretty much on the same level as Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. That's not hyperbole. I'm being honest. I really enjoy the game that much. I really enjoy Nemesis. People were complaining about Mr. X being difficult on Resident Evil 2 Remake. And people like say in comment sections on videos for Resident Evil 2 Remake would say, well, you know, get ready for Nemesis on 3. And guess what? Yeah, it's very much like that. You are you can beat Nemesis. It's very difficult. I was able to take him down with 2 grenades and a Magnum. When you have to get through that little corridor and get the vent open, like he's right on top of you. So on Inferno, he's right on top of you. So you pretty much have to take him down in order to get through that vent. Otherwise, he's going to come over and just kill you with one hit.
Well, on what was it, Nightmare difficulty? Do you not stun him with those barrels in the corner? Does that not work?
Well, if you're talking about you're talking about the red barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'd already used those up by the time he came around. And in fact, I think I've used those on the zombies each time.
Well, no, I mean for the one where you're trying to get inside the air vent, they're right next to the vent.
You know what? I'm
right
sorry.
there.
I actually didn't even know. I was able to stun him with the generator, but I didn't notice any red barrels.
Yeah, right next to where that vent is, you can have him
Yeah,
walk.
if you do a 180, they're right there on the right by the gun.
Well, you know me. I play these games. I don't actually use the quick.
But that's what I think is so great about it, because everybody, it's stuff like that.
Yeah, you can have a different.
Yeah,
experience.
you know what's out there if you watch a video, but if you go in blind, everybody has their own way of doing stuff, and you'll see things that other people don't see, and figure out things to do that other people haven't figured out to do.
Yeah, the original was like that.
Hey, let me just say that I was too fucking scared to notice any red barrels going through that little corridor area, because he is on top of you in that area. You stun him with the generator. You stun him with the generator, and you get over there on Inferno, and you literally get to the point to where she's about to open it up, and he literally walks over to you and knocks you dead. It's like, so when I played him last, I knocked him down with a couple of grenades and 1 Magnum blast to the heart. That's also key. You got to hit him in the weak point to really put him down. But he dropped like I think he dropped like 6 shotgun shells, so that actually helped me out, because he does drop ammo.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I didn't know that. When I wrote my guide, I specifically put in the guide, don't try shooting them. You just waste ammo. And it wasn't until later.
That's how
I killed him with those red barrels, and it gave me the trophy for doing it, and that was it. I didn't see anything drop. And I didn't try at all the rest of the way. So when I go back, I've beaten it twice. Once on normal hardcore. When I go back again, I guess try it on Nightmare. I will try and shoot him, because I guess it gives you gun upgrades too that I wasn't aware of. So.
2 gun.
Yeah, like a silencer, and I think like a stock for it. I forget.
Yeah, it's a stock. The first piece is
Oh, they give you an extended mag.
Well, no, you get a stock for the handgun in the safe. There's a little safe in one of the buildings up on the rooftops when you're going.
First place in line.
But the first item you get from Nemesis when you put him down is the 33 clip mag.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right. Yeah. I by the time I actually started downing him, I had already cleared the game enough to buy the Samurai Edge, so I didn't even need any of those parts anymore, which sucked.
Should I have? I've thought about buying the Samurai Edge, but
I didn't buy it. I didn't want. I just not going to.
Well, I'm trying to beat Inferno, because I beat Nightmare with the use of the crafting companion and the infinite handgun. I figured, you know what, I'll allow myself the infinite handgun. I didn't use the infinite launcher or any other items until I got to the very end, when I had to face the final 2 bosses, which are so ball breaking and fucking hard. Oh my god! I still have my save game on Nightmare, to where I'm actually going to try to beat it straight up. But see, I'm currently playing Inferno, so there's really no point. But I'm going to try to beat Inferno only using the Star's field combat manual. But I'm not going to lie, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat the last 2 Nemesis on Inferno without the help of the Raiden gun. I've never used the Raiden gun. I haven't unlocked it yet, but I do have the infinite launcher, and I don't want to beat Inferno using the infinite launcher. I want to beat it straight up. It just,
The Samurai Edge is really good, especially. I mean, like it'll down zombies quick as hell too. So if you're just trying to conserve ammo, you could just down them, run past them, and then down them on the way back, and spend less ammo than you would crippling them with any other gun.
I will use it on my next playthrough, but my current playthrough, I'm going to do my level best to try to beat it without any unlockables, with the exception of the manual, the field combat manual.
Yeah.
I
get that.
I do. Jared, are you a fan of the Borderlands series?
Borderlands, yeah, I like the second one. Spent a lot of time with it, but I haven't played the third yet.
So with Borderlands, you know, the game really doesn't start until your second playthrough. That's all of them.
Really?
Yeah,
I did
because
not know
that
that.
unlocks. Yeah, it's all about the loot. Because you know when you get, there's a lot of fluff loot you get when you play through the game. But on your second playthrough, your level carries over.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
yeah, and with 3, I beat 3 a couple months ago, and I'm like, oh great, I can finally start the game now, and it opens up so much more loot. And I think with Resident Evil 3, it's almost the same way with its upgrade system. I think, yeah, you play through to figure stuff out, but you really don't, because it got me to thinking. Angry Joe in his review was like, oh, Nemesis isn't threatening and all this shit. But, you know, hearing Rob
Playing
with the Nightmare and Inferno,
playing on higher
it
difficulty.
sounds like the game really doesn't open up until you start getting to those higher difficulties.
Well,
which just makes it.
I'll say this. So this is my issue with Resident Evil 3. It seems like a lot of people seem to just have it in their head that they need to complain about a Resident Evil remake, because remember when RE2 remake came out, the more game journalist side of things, the faux intellectual, like I've looked deeply into these issues type of opinion was that, oh, this game would have been great had they have not adhered so hard to the original. And then RE3 remake comes in and they're like, oh, they didn't include so much stuff from the original. I remember getting in arguments with people specifically when I was when RE2 remake was announced and everybody was talking about it. My opinion was always, listen, this looks fun and I bet it's going to be awesome, but I would rather have a remake, an actual remake where you take the original as it existed and place it into a new engine with new assets that artistically mirror the original experience. And people were like, that's ridiculous. We want a new experience. But why would they do that? You could just play the original. And then RE3 remake comes out and everybody's on my side now suddenly. Suddenly the entire internet is like, oh, this isn't like the original at all. And I'm like, you know, honestly, it just seems like everyone's a contrarian. No matter what comes out, if it's popular enough, someone's going to say that they don't like it for a reason that they have made up in their head that isn't necessarily happening in reality. It kills me because I was right there saying from the get-go, listen, I would rather have something that's more true to the original. And then what Capcom does is they listen. I mean, if you look at the improvements made in RE3 Remake, it's very clear that they listened to the criticism of RE2, especially as far as Mr. X goes. Nemesis, how he exists right now, is a direct result of people saying that Mr. X was too pervasive and showed up too much. That everybody's complaint was that. And whether or not you agree with that, you have to at the very least agree that every review you saw had a similar opinion, which was Mr. X was annoying as hell because he followed you everywhere. He made it hard to complete puzzles if you hadn't completed them ahead of time. And now you have Nemesis, who's nearly not present until scripted events, an exact reaction to everybody's criticism. And everybody's criticism now is, oh, he's too scripted. He only shows up in these. If I were working at Capcom right now and I was watching reviews of RE3 Remake, I would be so fucking frustrated that everything that I had done that the public asked for was being shit on. Like, no, we actually didn't want that. We wanted to complain about that. We didn't want to play a game where that wasn't the case, though. It kills me.
When I go back to edit this video, I'm going to find the picture of the dude that throws the paper in the air and just say, fuck it. Because that's what Capcom was on this. You make a very good point there. And
Capcom's always been that way, though. They've always been very good about listening in that sense with Resident Evil, because, or at the very least, they pay attention to trends. Look at RE4. We got RE5 and 6, and each one of those games was a direct result of how well the previous one did. They took everything from the previous one and included new action mechanics, because that was what everybody was talking about with RE4. Oh, the action's insane. It's these set pieces, and you never know what's going to happen next.
We want a cover system.
Well,
No, we
that's
don't.
what was
But okay, but the people that buy it in the sales, and I think what's funny is, and it travels over to sports games. I get off topic, but I think a lot of the updates you see, they don't necessarily look on the internet. They look on their own internal forums, and it's not like they're not necessarily flaws in Twitter, but they see like their hardcore fan base, the people that are on their forums and they have direct access to. And with sports games, it's like, oh man, they need to have the new Jordans in the game, and then that's a thing to praise about the next game. I'm like, it's got nothing to do with basketball. Yeah, it's shoes.
What are you talking about? That's the most important thing about
that's
basketball.
Jordans,
Air Jordans.
We need grass. It's I just think that a lot of that, because you don't really, when you see stuff like that, you don't really see that as a general consensus on the internet, which makes me think that stuff like that comes from, like, especially if you have like smaller indie developers for PC titles, say like something like Elite Dangerous or something like that. They don't have like a massive following in general like Twitter. They focus on who comes to their website's forums and is on there daily. Like, those are their hardcore. And it's just kind of, I'll go ahead and say this, just so we can wrap this up, and we'll go with our takes on what's to come with Capcom and Resident Evil. The remakes of Resident Evil 3, you can say it as flawed as you want, but here's my hot take. It completely destroys the remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Ooh.
Oh, damn.
Ooh. Did you like that?
Damn.
Because the Final Fantasy VII remake is Final Fantasy 15, the Code of Pain. Let's go.
I will say this.
We won't get into that because we'll be here for another hour.
Yeah. I will say that I agree with you halfway. I am halfway on your side with that one. I'll say that much.
Anyways, to me, just to sum up our three opinions. Well, mine. I'll start with me. Let's do that. Resident Evil 3 Remake is much like my review. Hasn't changed. It's on par with Resident Evil 2 Remake. None of them will be Resident Evil 7, which will end up going down as the greatest Resident Evil of all time after Resident Evil 8 flops and Capcom turns a hard left on everything and gets greedy again. But I think if they remade 3 first instead of remaking 2, you'd have a whole different general consensus on the game.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So, do you believe if they remade 3 first instead of remaking 2, people would probably think the game is better? Or maybe it's not just as much.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's not only competing with the original RE3. The remake of RE2 was a huge event, and people were floored by it because this was the first showing of a Resident Evil game. Like, since RE7, this was what people were familiar with about Resident Evil. It made a huge first impression, and then they gave us a second impression. The second impression is never going to be as strong and as meaningful as the first one you get, right? If you have a really good, let's say you have a really bad first date and then a good date after that's still going to be in your mind, right? So RE3 right now, I think a lot of the complaints come from this isn't as earth-breaking as RE2 Remake was, but it could never be. We already had RE2 Remake, and we knew what to expect from RE3. There were little subtle changes that, obviously exist, but absolutely, it's competing against RE2 Remake, and there's no way it can win that battle, because RE2 Remake was a cultural phenomenon. Okay. Oh, is it good now?
Yeah, you went out for like 2 seconds there.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, just as a general summary, the idea is that RE3 Remake is competing directly with RE2 Remake, and RE2 Remake had this amazing first impression because it was the first we'd ever seen of these remakes, and because it was the first, it was the most impactful and important. Whereas RE3, we know what to expect, we know what the graphics are going to look like, in my opinion, RE3, and not even in my opinion, objectively speaking, the processes they use to
visually better.
in every single conceivable way. It has dropped nearly every single flaw, or at the very least mitigated every single flaw, graphically speaking, that RE2 had. It blew me away in that department. But that being said, those are changes that at a quick glance you might not even notice, right? Which are the changes I love, the stuff that you'd have to dive beneath the surface to really see. But yeah, it's a better game gameplay wise. I would say I would enjoy exploring the environments of RE2 Remake more, but as far as playing it combat wise, dodging, all that stuff, RE3 is the one that I enjoy playing through currently right now, whereas RE2 Remake requires a little bit more of a time dedication, and there's a little more dead air kind of in the middle where I'm just running around, and I enjoy the environments I'm in, but once I've seen them and I've already experienced them, it's like, okay, I get it at this point. I'd like the game to progress forward, which is never an issue with RE3 because of its fast pace and constant forward momentum. So I would say if I had to pick a game to walk around in and just admire the scenery, it'd probably be 2 Remake. And if I had to pick a game to play through and beat right now, it'd be RE3 Remake for sure.
Okay.
One last thing. Well, I'll let Rob chime in.
Yeah, no, I'm not here. So.
I just wanted to add, I can't stop but relate it to John Wick 2 and 3. John Wick.
Enough for John Wick. How about Night, Dawn, and Day of the Dead?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it suffers from John Wick syndrome, which is exactly what Jared was just saying, was that first impression. You can't eliminate that. It's so good, and it's followed up with just a great, product.
Mm-hmm.
The second one comes out, and it's just as good, but you're not going to get that same first impression, if not arguably better. But they kind of even out, but they're also different in their own individual entity from one another, that it's really hard to choose a favorite. It just really comes down to what exactly you prefer in terms of like story and characters and stuff like that. Anyways, Rob.
Well, Jared's summary was perfect because you remember what I said to you earlier about Resident Evil 3 is right now arguably, like, I like it more than 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that. Yeah, I said that before.
We're calling this video RE3 is better than RE2. So
look, I'll just say this. Maybe Resident Evil 2 is a better game, but I prefer to play Resident Evil 3. Mm-hmm. Jared fucking said it. So, okay, all right. Being superficial here, where does it stand? All right, check it out. The original 3, that's the golden age. From 96 to 99, that's the golden age. We're currently with 7, 2 remake, and 3 remake, that's the Renaissance. And 4, 5, and 6, that's the Dark Ages.
Nah, I say 4, 5, and 6 I would call like
it's the fucking
Bronze Age, but
it's the Dark Ages, man.
You have to throw
in. Dude, if you're
Revelations,
if you're a fan,
Operation Raccoon City.
The Operation Raccoon City fucking sucks, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Jared loved it.
I love it. I do, but I do admit it's a bad game, so that I am honest in that.
Like I said earlier, man. Like Alien Covenant is a horrible movie, but I love that game because I love that movie because it's enjoyable. Not everything has to be perfect. It has to be pristine. It has to be A+. I mean, you can enjoy things that are F. You really can. But I do believe that the current 3 and the Golden Age and the remake are all 7 Resident Evil games are of equal value. If you just throw a blanket over the first 3, the 3 remakes, and 7, and you have a great collection of games. 4 is playable, especially next to 5, and good God, 6, the worst Resident Evil game ever made, probably the worst game of all time. But I love 3.
You love 6 though.
I do love 6, but that's a similar situation. A gameplay wise, if you look at it as a Resident Evil game, it's hot garbage. If you look at it as an action game,
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
All I know is I randomly crave the tombs in Resident Evil 5 with the fucking Magnum tearing up tribal people. That area in Resident Evil 5 though was so creepy. It's just the music, the ambient sound is so like dark.
Oh, it was killer, and the alligators. Jesus.
It's awesome. And
Nah, it
Resident
was
Evil 5's got the roaches. And that's another thing, too. The bugs in Resident Evil 3, they feel like they're an homage. The remake of Resident Evil 3 takes elements from almost every Resident Evil title and puts them in there. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wait. One more thing about Resident Evil 3. The one thing that they did leave out that we haven't mentioned is they left out the Gravedigger. So, you know, that's an unfortunate loss, but you know, it is what it is. It's a different game. It's not a remake. It's a spiritual successor, which you guys were trying to say earlier, and it is a perfect remake. It is a perfect sequel to Resident Evil 2 Remake. Though it's a perfect sequel to it.
Yeah, I think it follows in the same vein as far as what it changes and why it changes it. They're very consistent between the two, for sure.
So there you have it, Resident Evil 3 for the PS4, or if you're one of those unfortunate people that own an Xbox, yeah, get it, whatever. This is Welcome to Die Gaming, and bye.